Welcome to Off the Clock. This is our first podcast. I'm Jake Lazarus. I'm a leader in the technology field.
And I'm DonaldFeury. I've been a software engineer for about 5 years.
Donald and I actually work on the same team, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about resume building, the do's, the don'ts, what we look for, what we can tell is good information versus bad information. So, Donald, let's just jump right in. What are the most important things for you that you look for on a resume, just starting out?
So we're going to cover also not just what I look for, but what I have found to be the most effective ways to building a resume for when you're trying to actually, get a call back from somewhere.
Sure.
In terms of what I look for in a resume, well, so the first thing, and this sort of relates to what I was going to talk about anyway, which is I want to see what skills you have. So for any job position, obviously we may use particular technology or certain practices or patterns that if I don't tend to see these on a resume, I'm not going to bother looking at the rest of it, because it's the likelihood that you're a low risk candidate isn't very good in that case.
Right.
What do you feel about that?
You know what? I want to see your skills, but I don't want to see all the industry standard skills. I run a QA team. I don't want to see Selenium. I want to see what you've done with Selenium. Anyone can put that they know Selenium, and I'm just using that as a for instance.
Mm.
Because everyone in the QA world wants to talk about, I know Selenium. Do you? Can you stand up a framework? Can you create a framework? Are you just, whatever? Are you just updating test cases? What are you doing? Come in with those skills and be prepared to talk about those skills and what you've used them for and how you've learned them.
Yeah, in general, when you're building out a skill list on a resume, like to some extent, you can kind of put stuff in there to like make you more attractive to actually get reached out to. But I would never put anything on a skill list in a resume that you can't hold a conversation with.
Right.
Yeah. So like I've put plenty of stuff on my resume before that, like, have I used it in production before? Not really. But could I carry a conversation because I have functioning level of knowledge of like what the hell it actually is? Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And in our field, especially, if you're not willing to learn something new, then do we really even want you on our team? Because we have to constantly be evolving. That's the only way, to make step forwards, especially in the technology world.
Yeah, I think I even said this when we were talking about a candidate once, and I was like, if you're in this industry, like the umbrella that is like software engineering or just like the technology space in general, and you're not somebody who's usually like keen to like learn new things or to adapt quickly, you in the wrong career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
At any level, right? At any level, whether you're just starting out or you've been doing this for the last 12 to 15 years, you have to keep moving forward. You have to keep learning.
In terms of like what else I would look for, kind of like what Brunleyy said, I want to see like you've actually done stuff with this technology. In particular, and I have this in my notes that you can see, Brunleyy. When you're, I spelled that, phrasing, not phasing, phrasing your job description, generally you want to try to phrase it in a way in such that you have problem. I solved problem using this tool, and if you can do this, it led to this result, right? So if, let's say you're trying to apply for, I don't know, some company where you use PHP or something, I would like to see in your job description somewhere where you said, in order to, I don't know, improve the response time of our main system, I optimized our PHP code, which resulted in a performance increase of 20%. Right? So like you're hitting the keywords that somebody from like HR would want to see. Like, oh, they use the thing that we're looking for them to use to achieve a result. Make sense?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, no, for sure. And that's exactly it, especially when you're talking about your past experiences, especially the ones that aren't like your current position.
Mhm.
Like, let's see that growth. Let's see these things that you've done earlier in your career. Let's talk about those things of, when you were learning something and you had to, stop what you were doing to do some more research and do some more learning and some more professional development to get through whatever the problem is. Let's see that, highlight that. That's the good stuff. That's what we
Yeah.
want to see. You
Yeah.
don't want to see keywords to get you to optimize for a search engine. Do you need to do that? Yes, but that should not be what your resume is all about.
Oh, I don't know about not optimizing it for keywords, but yeah, you definitely again you
Do it,
want
but be the focal point
right. Yeah. Yeah.
of
Of course.
creating your resume.
Yeah.
You need those, but we need the content to back up those keywords. Let me
Yeah.
say it that way.
Yeah. 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 Got you.
Yep.
Um. Now, in terms of if I had to offer advice about how you structure your resume, this is actually pretty important too. Um, so obviously your name's up front because we want to know who the hell you actually are. If you have a mission statement, put it there. Make it like one sentence. If you don't put your autobiography in your mission statement, for God's sake. If you're going to do that, put it in a cover letter. Skill list first. First person that's going to look at this thing is not me. It's not you. The people who actually know what the stuff is. Generally, the person looking at it doesn't actually know what the hell this shit even is. So they're just keyword looking. So your skill list is probably where most of those keywords are going to catch somebody's attention. So you're putting the most important information first. Skill list being the biggest one. Next one below that, again, this is all my opinion and based off my own experience, is job experience. This is where you list all your old positions and again try to phrase them in a way that demonstrates that your job descriptions will reinforce what you say in your skill list. Again, trying to say, if you've used a language, say, try to demonstrate how you use that language to solve a problem. Next after that is personal projects. If you have any, this could be your own software project, could even be completely not related. Like I think I have my YouTube channel on my projects because it'll show things that may be valuable for things that's besides your skills. Like if they're looking for somebody who's more adept at teaching people stuff, like seeing that you have like videos that demonstrate something speaks a lot more than just words on a resume. And funny enough, the last thing I usually put on mine is education. This flies in the face of what if you go to a college, they'll almost always tell you to put the education first. Especially in this field, I don't give a shit what your education is.
No, I don't ever even look at it.
Yeah.
I don't.
I do, yeah.
I didn't go to college. I didn't go to anything after high school. I'm all self-taught.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean, whatever. That's just how I approached it. If you went to school to get that information, that's good too. But as long as you know that information that we're looking for and you can talk about it and you can demonstrate it, where you came from doesn't matter to me one bit.
Oh,
So
and the part that I left out there that I shouldn't leave out is if you're applying for a job that actually cares about certifications, but this is usually just like government jobs usually are pretty hung up on certifications. I would probably put those like above job experience because this isn't what I know. This is what I've been told, that if they're scanning through your resume and they don't see a certification pretty quick, they just bye because again, just not relevant for what they're looking for.
Right. Yeah. No, and I get that. If you have hard requirements like that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, right now in our recruitment process, in our, because we're exploding. I think we brought on 30 new people this year to the team. I mean, which is insane. That's insane. We're almost, I think we started at like, I want to say like 8 or 9. We're over at 40.
Look at that many people now.
You know, 300% increase this year alone.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, the amount of resumes and shit that we've had to go through, you know, it's insane.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm glad, I'm for one, I'm glad that we don't have any of those hardcore requirements, at least for right now, because I feel like it's hard enough finding folks, especially in our space, who are technical enough to actually keep your technology moving forward. You know, and it's finding people who can automate, or finding people who can help you automate
Mhm.
and build out your systems.
Yeah.
So adding that kind of stuff is just overhead for us right now. So I'm just so happy we don't have to worry about that
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
But anyways, enough about that.
So, how do you feel about that order of information?
Yeah, I think it's great. That's the exact order that I would look for, minus, you know, the certification thing, of course. Yeah, let's see who you are. Let's see what you know. Let's see how you've gone about taking what you know and applying it to solving problems. And then tell us, how did you get to know all this information?
Right.
That's exactly the order that I would look for as well, Donald. So,
And the kind of the overarching theme of why it's ordered that way to me is the point of a resume is you're trying to sales pitch to whoever it is you're applying for what kind of value you can bring them. And not just what kind of value you can bring them, but what kind of risk is associated with bringing you on. Because just like any other business decision, choosing to hire somebody generally carries with it some inherent level of risk, right? You may bring them on and they don't click with people. You may bring them on and they just ain't capable of doing what you thought they would be able to do. You know, all these things like this. So anything that you can put up there that helps lower that risk and projects a stronger sense of value to whoever it is you're applying for will generally increase the rate you actually get callbacks from companies.
right,
Yeah.
right. And, you know, especially for us, you know, be prepared for a fucking challenge. Be prepared for a take-home assessment. You know, we assess everybody. We even assess manual testers. Hey, can they write a coherent, a cohesive, I don't even know what the fuck I'm trying to say, but then can they write a comprehensive test plan? That's the word I'm looking for. Comprehensive test plan. Can they do that? So when you're applying, you know, and that's something to think of as well, when you're putting these skills on your resume in a technology field, you're going to have to go through some sort of vetting. You know, they're going to want to look at what you know and assess some work that you're submitting.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care if you've been doing this for 10 or 2 years, you got to take that shit seriously.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many assessments do we throw away because it's like, hey, this guy's 6 years plus and this is what he gave us? Garbage, you know, and maybe he didn't take his time.
Which, I mean, so I'll cover this in much more detail in another episode when we're talking about interviewing. But in general, like when your resume, I guess another way to put it is building a picture of who you are and what you can do. If later when they try to put the rubber to the road, you ain't really the reality of who you are ain't matching up with what you portrayed, your shit's getting yeeted in the trash.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As soon as I ask you about one of your skills and you can't answer it, it's like, okay, what else do I need to dig in and see, you know, where your shortcomings are, and where do I need to see where the knowledge gaps are now, because you can't talk about the first thing that I asked you.
Yeah. And to be clear, it's okay if you have knowledge gaps, but you have to, admit up front, I don't know much about this, or this, or at least be upfront about what you do or don't know. Yeah.
Right. I don't know about that, but I'd sure as hell be willing to learn.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to know everything, but being able to say that you don't know that, or you're not as experienced with something as maybe we're looking for as an interviewer, that's okay. Because that also tells us that, hey, this person has got room to grow.
Yep.
And we can teach them how to do these things the way that we like them done, rather than coming in with a bunch of bad habits. So it can also really, really work to your advantage if you don't know something.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Yeah. It's as powerful as knowing something.
Yeah.
The want to learn is as important as to all the learning that you've done prior to this conversation. To me.
Yeah,
To
I
me.
agree. Okay, what's on my list? So this is one of the ones that I wasn't sure if you were going to agree with this tip or not, which is remove personally identifiable information. This would be things like where you live, generally trying to like not really project out like what your age is or any personal things like if you like what your religion or like gender or any of this other stuff is. And here's why. And again, you may or may not agree with me on this. When we put information on there like that, and again, maybe sometimes this doesn't apply because some companies will literally tell you to do this in the resume, otherwise they'll eat it. I have seen that before. Generally, we put these things here because we want to try to form like some kind of like personal connection with people. And sometimes that works out in your favor, right? You may, whether we mean to or not, we are human. Sometimes we make decisions on kind of stupid reasons, whether we realize it or not, consciously or unconsciously. So some people will look at a resume and maybe see some aspect about you and sympathize with you and make it more likely that they'll push it, forward. But as conversely, and dare I say more likely, someone may see that and again, whether they mean to or not, form a negative, like a negative bias towards you and toss it. Now, obviously, that's illegal, but they don't have to say that's why they did it. You know what I mean? Somebody, whether they mean to or not, may look at some part of your resume and go, I don't know, maybe there's some particular aspect of you, I don't know, whether it's your age, ageism is technically a thing that exists.
Right.
Yeah. Or again, something like religion or location or something. Again, whether they mean to or not, can put your thing off to the side and not go forward. But again, as long as they don't actually come out and say that's why they did it, well, that's your loss.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and I 100% agree. I don't need to know any of that stuff about you. I don't care what your, religious beliefs or political stances are on things. I don't give a fuck.
Yep.
I don't even, nothing matters to me but that conversation. And do I think you're going to be a good fit on this team or not? And that information, it's whatever. There's a couple things that I never even talk about. Even with my family and friends and shit, I never talk about religion, politics, or corporate policy ever. That's just a hard line for me because everyone has their own views. Everyone has their own beliefs, and I'm not here to try to push any of that stuff on anybody. Everyone is their own person, their own individual.
Yeah.
I don't care about any of that stuff. This is a professional advertisement of what you can do.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. And
not
the other,
what you as a person, not whatever.
Yeah. The other reason why I definitely don't want to put some of this stuff on there nowadays is because as it's come out for some larger companies have some questionable things they look for that incentivizes to hire one person over the other that might borderline on illegal. So all the more reason not to do that.
Right. Yeah. I don't even know how that stuff starts happening. Right.
Well, I know how it starts happening. That's for another podcast.
Right. Huge subject that I've been dying to talk about ever since the whole Activision Blizzard shit started coming out. Let's make sure you tune in because that is definitely going to be a future topic here. Probably within the next, I would say, 5 to 7 episodes, we'll probably start covering that because that's a big one. That's one of the things why we wanted to start doing this podcast was that topic came up. So anyways, I digress.
Let's see. So this kind of maybe plays into the last one, but it's more specific. Do not put anything on your resume that could be ambiguously interpreted. Um, every time, so I'm sure some people who listen to this, watch this, they've looked at like resume templates or seen other people's resumes. The one thing that I swear to God, every time I see somebody put on their resume, I want to fucking choke them, is when wherever those skills are, they put like some kind of like skill rating, like a 3 out of 5, or putting like beginner, intermediate, whatever.
Right.
The reason why I want to choke them when they put that there is, so when you see that, it means something. When someone else sees that, could mean completely something different.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. I may put, I think I'm like a 3 or 4 out of 5 in JavaScript, which would probably mean like, well, to me means okay, you're fairly familiar with a lot of the aspects of the ecosystem. Maybe you're just you're not a savant at it. But somebody again who doesn't know anything about this stuff is going to look at that and go, well, exactly what don't they know? Like, I don't know what this means. 4 out of 5. Does it mean like they didn't finish a course or something? Like, what does that mean?
Right.
Yeah, and it could very, very actually. I don't know of any good reason to ever put that on there at all. It can only be negative. I don't know of a reason to it would ever be positive.
No, and I'm 100% there because it's always like, my partner and I have this thing where someone will say something, and it really is, and the response is, well, it depends on who you ask, right?
Yeah.
And that's really it. Whose scale determines whether you're a 3 or a 5 or a 3 or a 5?
Yeah.
Because exactly your definition of what a 3 is could be 100% the opposite of what my definition of a 3 is. We need to have things that are accurately measurable.
Yep.
Give us a percent. Give us a percent of something that you did that led to a performance increase.
Yeah. So yeah, don't do that. if I like something I would like to do later, whether it's on here or on like one of our own personal things, is I would actually like people to like send me their resumes, obviously with any like personally identifiable taken off, and I want to look at them. And I swear to God, if I see that, I'm just gonna put a big reg X and go, no, get this fucking shit off your resume.
Right.
Yeah.
It does more bad than any good. It doesn't do. I don't think it does any good. To be honest with you, it does. I don't ever see a reason to have some sort of self-evaluation of your skill set on your resume. That's no. Let us determine where we think you're at and go from there.
Yeah, that's the whole point of something like a technical interview is if the person, team, whoever is interviewing you is competent, they'll be able to pick up on what you do and don't know without whatever this arbitrary crap on your resume is.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Within the first couple minutes. Yeah. Right.
Let's see. Okay. Before I just keep going through my list, is there any particular things that you would like to discuss about this?
No, I think that your list is really great, and I think that we're talking about all the important things.
Well,
I think that we've covered on them. And just to summarize, some of those things are, let's see your skill set. Tell us what you've done and how you've done it. We don't want any kind of self ratings, no self assessments. We'll determine that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really highlighting what you have learned and what you really want to learn, right? Where do you want to go?
Yeah.
And that's, I think that maybe is something that we missed in talking about the resumes is putting a solid objective on there. Maybe, I don't always read them, but I noticed that some of the more junior candidates do put that on there, and it's a really good way to get your head wrapped around where someone wants to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think my last resume that I submitted somewhere still has a mission statement on there. Again, it's one sentence. Don't put your fucking autobiography on there. And it just says, I am looking for this type of position because I want these types of responsibilities.
Right.
That's probably 12 words. They ain't gotta be super long.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess one other thing that I'll touch on, because I don't think I actually have it in this list, but I think it's important anyway, is um, one of the things that you probably should do before you actually really start. Well, you can still do it while you're building a resume. Is decide like what are you looking to do or what are you like looking to work with, because from that you can tweak the wording or the skill list to again include these keywords that might match those job positions better, which is just which to me in my experience just improves the odds that you actually get some kind of response back from somebody.
No, and that's a great point. That is a great point because we want a picture of what you've done, but also where you're headed, right? And that's
Yeah.
a hard balance. That's
Yeah.
a hard balance to do. But yeah, no, that's a great point. I didn't even think about adding that one to the list. But yeah, that's great. No, I
Yeah,
love it.
because like I'll give an example. So like especially if you're somebody kind of like me who's more of a what do you call that, a U-shaped skill set, not a T-shaped skill set, meaning I'm more of a generalist, is there's tons of shit I could put in my skill list. But depending on the position I'm trying to get hired for, probably like 80% of it's not relevant. So
Right.
I'm just only going to put the ones that, again, I feel like I could actually carry a conversation or do something productive with, and they're actually looking for, right? If the place only uses like, I don't know, PHP and Go, I'm not going to put on there that I know Node or C Sharp because who fucking cares? They don't use that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I agree.
Um. All right. I think that's about all I had for resume building tips on here.
Yeah. Well, let's hop right in. Let's. You need to take a quick break, and then we can hop into what's next. Interviews.
Yes. Oh, we need to end this. Like end it.
I want to thank everyone for tuning in for the first episode of Off the Clock, where we talked about resume buildings. We'll be back soon with another episode talking about the actual job search. So, once again, thank you for tuning in. I'm Jake Brunleyy Lazarus.
And I'm DonaldFeury.
And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Later.